And welcome back to the Hot Lap. So, Liam Lawson officially confirmed for Red Bull. Yuki Tsunoda officially not confirmed, or unconfirmed if you will, for Red Bull. He's staying at VCarb, RB, Racing Bulls, whatever they're called. And Isack Haer confirmed as a promotion to the Racing Bulls RB VCarb. However, as with all things Formula One, when it comes to musical chairs, not everyone's happy. So here we go, breaking news, congratulations to Liam Lawson, absolutely, we are happy for him. And, I mean, between him and Yuki, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And to be fair, I absolutely can see both sides. Ultimately, only time will tell. They know what they have with Yuki. Liam Lawson's only raced 11 races, but in 11 races, people have lasted less, I think, for the Red Bull company than 11 races. I think Nick de Vries, was it more than 11? I'm not sure. But, they are obviously fairly confident with Liam Lawson, so they signed him. The general consensus seemed to be that Yuki Tsunoda was not mentally tough enough to go up against Max Verstappen. Having said that, this is a guy who they've thrown multiple teammates at, and he's beat them all, including Liam Lawson. So why has Red Bull picked Liam Lawson? Hopefully we'll find out. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda, he said maybe pole position and podiums in every race, and that's pretty much what he said on what he has and what he needs to do to be noticed. And this is Tsunoda's head-to-head qualifying since 2023. So it's 10-1 against Liam Lawson, 16-9 against Daniel Ricciardo, and 8-2 against Nick de Vries, making it overall 34-12 against 3 drivers. And let's be fair, 3 quite talented drivers. Even if Daniel Ricciardo was in the twilight of his career, he didn't quite make it. And we all thought Daniel Ricciardo will beat Yuki Tsunoda and then go into Red Bull. One interesting thing, this could have all been avoided, this whole PR nonsense. And Yuki Tsunoda may well have been given his chance, or Liam Lawson, had Red Bull actually dealt with the massive Sergio Perez elephant in the room come the Belgian Grand Prix going into the summer break. If you remember, everyone was talking about, Daniel Ricciardo's going to the Red Bull team. Alas, he didn't go to the Red Bull team. Sergio Perez stayed. The rumours are people offered lots more money, etc., pleading with Red Bull. We don't know whether that's true or not. We weren't there. But the general consensus was why and how has Sergio Perez, convinced somebody to stay. Ergo, Red Bull loses the Constructors' Championship. Ergo, egg on face for the Red Bull team. But not Max Verstappen, because all throughout he had an absolutely solid year. So, Yuki Tsunoda's come out and he said Liam did a really good job when he drove in the team. But I think I did more than that. Yes, Yuki, to be fair, you did. F1 races at pre-Red Bull. This was, I thought, was interesting. This is all the drivers before they joined their Red Bull teammates. So, Ricciardo, 50. Gasly, 26. Vettel, I believe Vettel, 26. Verstappen, 23. Kvyat, 19. Albon, 12. And Liam Lawson, 11, making him the most rookiest of rookies with 11 races for Red Bull. Obviously, if you need to discount, for example, when Red Bull started with Christian Klein and Liuzzi. So Antonio Liuzzi. But yeah, I don't think that quite counts there because they're a brand new team there. So here's an interesting article. Are there enough reasons to justify Lawson's Red Bull deal? This is from motorsport.com. When a top team driver signs with less than a dozen starts in F1, there has to be a good reason. But in this case, it's hard to see one, being a bit harsh. I think Liam Lawson, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do against Verstappen, what he can do in the Red Bull. He's going to be fighting the top people. If he very much doesn't care about an Alonso, doesn't care about Perez. He is very firm. In a recent interview, he said his favourite F1 race was Abu Dhabi 2021. Stirring the pot there, Liam. So if he's as good on track as he is with his mouth in interviews, it could be a very exciting season. But anyway, let's carry on. So it says it's somewhat explainable how Red Bull ended up here. You don't have to agree with Horner and Helmut Marko. They've made all the right decisions regarding their team's driver lineup over the past year and a half. No, they very much haven't. As we know, Liam Lawson has replaced Sergio Perez. It's fairly easy to say now it was a mistake to bring Daniel Ricciardo back. But I think at the time, no, it wasn't. keeping Lee Lawson on the bench? Maybe, and it turned out to be just an obvious mistake. But imagine what a story it could have been had it all worked out. It was perhaps even a slightly sentimental move on Horner's part. No, yeah, it was. But bringing Daniel Ricciardo back was in the level of ridiculousness was kind of like maybe, in hindsight, a fight like average 5 out of 10 ridiculousness, than keeping on Perez, which really was 11 out of 10 in hindsight. But there we go. So it's now clear that extending Perez's contract was a disaster, yes. But even that decision was in a way perfectly... No, it wasn't understandable. No, it wasn't. In early 2024, Perez was simply perfect. Not least because he seemed to have accepted by them that he would never be able to challenge his teammate, and he had that big fan base and money. If Checo remained consistent, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we? And had Red Bull actually had the balls to sign Carlos Sainz, we probably would be having a completely different conversation. But is it because Sainz will upset the apple cart too much with the Verstappen camp? Maybe, who knows? Yes, Perez's contract was renewed. He was already showing signs of decline. Yep, that was all very embarrassing. That's probably too tempting for Horner and Marco to hope Checo's was just going to shrug it off. No, that was silly from Horner and Marco. I mean, these are the same people that are quite happy to get rid of Nick de Vries really quickly. Daniel Kvyat, swap him out for Max Verstappen, get rid of, put Alex Albon in as well at some point. It was all a bit silly. So the decision to keep him after the summer break is harder to explain. It absolutely is. And they hope that Ricciardo's dreadful years at McLaren weren't evidence of a decline. I still don't... Yeah, well, something happened there. Something was wrong. But that magical lap at Silverstone during the test of Red Bull arranged for Ricciardo to orchestrate his return. Red Bull continued to hope that the Australian was going to get better, but let's be fair, he did not. And now Red Bull hope that a youngster with 11 Grand Prix starts can handle what Horner himself described as the toughest job in F1. Of all these decisions made in the last year and a half, I wouldn't say this is the most difficult to explain. It's keeping Perez. Keeping Perez is the most difficult to explain. But if you ignore the entire backstory that led to Lawson being handed a seat at Red Bull, with all the miscalculations and fail bits, it's almost impossible to find any rationale behind this particular move, they're saying. So Red Bull Racing, a team that have won 6 titles in the last 4 years, has signed a driver with just 11 F1 race starts. A driver whose best F1 result is 9th place. A driver with no major junior titles. A driver who fell behind his teammate in 6 out of 6 qualifying sessions and scored fewer points during their time together. Okay, with that one, I get it. It is quite hard to just... I just hope that Red Bull have seen something that we haven't in Liam. I'm still excited about Liam Lawson being at Red Bull, but I can understand both sides of the argument. Lawson wasn't quite good enough for Red Bull to offer him a place in its junior team. Now, a year ago. Now, with 6 more races under his belt, he's suddenly good enough for the main squad. He's said to be a fast learner. He's jumped between cars in recent years and adapted quickly, it said. True, but wins aren't titles, and we're talking about racing for one of the best teams on the grid. Yes, absolutely we are. Now, at the top, it's not just about getting your maximum quickly. It's about having a maximum that's exceptionally high. That's something that Sergio Perez and pretty much every teammate Max Verstappen has had after, Daniel Ricciardo, they've kind of not done. After all, the last time he drove the same car for 2 years in a row was in Formula 2, finishing 9th in his first season and 3rd in his second. Yeah, so that doesn't scream top team material, but then when you look at this, Oliver Behrman and Kimi Antonelli didn't really set the world alight. Like, for example, a Lewis Hamilton, a Nico Rosberg, a George Russell, even like a Lando Norris. They didn't. But ergo, they both got Formula 1 drives. And it says even if he is a quick learner, it hasn't helped him to immediately outperform Tsunoda, and that's not good news either. He hasn't. There's clearly something about the Japanese driver that makes Red Bull reluctant to promote him. Taken in isolation, they say this can be explained. Tsunoda's actions on the cooldown lap in Bahrain alone were enough to put Horner and Marco. Yes, it was enough to put Horner and Marco off, but then they had Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen whose actions on track, yes, this was a cool-down lap. I would make an argument, multi-21, and basically you can... there's a massive list of Max Verstappens, which they probably shouldn't be happy with, but they are. And there's a reason why Max, since the penalty point system has come into place, is the highest earner of that. How could someone be a quick learner and a handful of races weren't enough for them to start beating their teammate? How could someone be considered ready for a top team if they've never demonstrated that kind of potential? Even if it's because they haven't had the time for it, there simply isn't enough evidence to support their argument. Okay. They're now questioning Lawson's ability to deal with the pressure. He's done well. Both times Red Bull's thrown him into the junior car. They're talking solid performances. And without those performances, Lawson wouldn't be in contention. Completely agree. But the fact is he did those performances under the most intense pressure. When he replaced Danny Ricciardo, he didn't embarrass himself. In 2023 at Zandvoort, he did sensational. But that is all based on 2 short stints with the Red Bull's junior team in circumstances where there was little to lose. No, well, yeah, there was. Then look at Colapinto. He looked very good. He was troubling Albon at points, and until he wasn't. Nobody expects miracles from a driver who comes as a mid-season replacement. So simply finishing a race in horrendous conditions at Zandvoort last year, scoring points in Austin this year was seen as an overachievement. Absolutely, it was. But as we know, expectations, and I completely agree that Red Bull will be high. The pressure will be on Liam Lawson. And here's the issue. Why a lot of people are unhappy that Yuki Tsunoda has been snubbed. Yuki Tsunoda, for some, has been screwed over in relation to Liam Lawson. The pressure, one thing I do agree with a lot of people are saying, the pressure is absolutely going to be on from the second we have testing. And then from the second the practice time first ticks over in Australia in 2025. Everyone is going to be on like a hawk. They are. I mean, Lawson now has people that are probably going to hate watch him, and any mistake he does, they're going to be on the Twitter straight away. So hopefully he just completely ignores that and sails on through. I for one am excited. I'll be equally excited if Tsunoda had the role, but I completely understand the frustration of why they didn't, of why he was picked. So, and speaking of Tsunoda, Horner drops Tsunoda axe hint in what is a critical 2020 Tsunoda 2025 season. So Horner suggested that 2025 could be Yuki's final year in Red Bull if a role outside of Red Bull does not arise. He's been driving since 2021 for the RB team, and there's never emerged as a serious contender for the Red Bull squad. This is despite, let's be fair, looking a lot better than Sergio Perez this year. But he questions, Christian Horner questions Yuki Tsunoda's Red Bull future. So it leaves Tsunoda to head into fifth season with the B team. But according to Horner, it's looking like this will be his last. Harsh. Is that because Honda are paying Red Bull more money? Is that because they're paying for Yuki Tsunoda and Red Bull are leaving? It may well be a political thing. It is Christian Horner. I trust him as much as I can throw him most of the time. And I'm not good at throwing. So Horner said we're acutely aware that if we're not able to provide an opportunity for Yuki, being in all honesty this year, does it make sense to keep him? Well, the scenario could be that Liam Lawson is absolutely terrible. I don't think he will be, but he could be. Nick de Vries, Kvyat, they got rid of. Kvyat wasn't really doing that bad. They just wanted to get Verstappen in there, didn't they? But there is the chance that come halfway through the season, they swap Lawson around with Yuki Tsunoda, especially if Yuki is owning Isack Haer. But you can't be a driver in the sports team for 5 years. You can't always be the bridesmaid. You've either got to let them go at some point or look at something different. So that's not great endorsement from Horner. However, despite the ominous words from Horner, Tsunoda, the Red Bull boss, made it clear that Tsunoda's fate is far from sealed. He hopes the Racing Bulls will take a step forward next year, thanks to Red Bull's rear suspension and gearbox. So, with all that considered, plus Lawson's rapid rise from super sub to Max Verstappen's new teammate, Horner says Tsunoda should not and is not giving up hope. I think he's very determined, said Horner. He knows that things change quickly. Well, we all know that, don't we? Who would have thought that 9 months ago we'd be here still talking about Liam Lawson for being our driver for 2025? Yeah, maybe. So, fingers crossed. It is not over. It's most certainly not over for Yuki Tsunoda. Absolutely, it is not. So, there we go. But Liam Lawson, he's the man. And I imagine everyone in New Zealand is very, very happy about that. Us, I don't know, maybe not so much. So Isack Haer, he's the name to survive. He's the latest guy to survive the F1 grid, to arrive, not survive. Well, he's going to have to survive it. He's 20 years old, and why have Red Bull chose him according to Planet F1? He's the next name for Red Bull. He's from France. And he was born in Paris on the 28th of September 2004. Wow, I'm old. And has a dual nationality of both France and Algeria. He started karting in 2015, making his debut in 2019 to single-seaters in the French F4 Championship. His big break came in May 21 when Mr. Helmut Marko got hold of him. Now, we've got the likes of Verstappen and Vettel, many come through it, and there was hardly a better place for an F1 hopeful to be. And Hajar's first races under the Red Bull brand came with high-tech Grand Prix, an awesome team during his first F3 season. He took 3 wins and 5 podiums to finish his rookie campaign in 4th. Haer may have only finished 14th in his debut season, but was rewarded with a first taste, this was F2 in 2023, of an F1 car. Yeah, so the Frenchman moved to Campos Racing in 24, just missing out on the title to fellow F1 newbie Gabriele Bortoleto in his most impressive season to date. His performances in 2024 have made his move into F1 look like a matter of when, not if, so that's encouraging. But once Red Bull's interest in Colapinto had cooled, which I think everyone kind of predicted by the end of the year it had done, it looked likely Haer would be on the grid for 2025. So well done. I mean, well done, Isack Haer. I'm looking forward to it. He said, my parents, where are we? Oh no, we've lost it. My parents are the people who helped me the most during my career, by far, as they gave me everything to succeed from the early stages to now. By finding sponsors and people who could help in our project, I basically owe them everything. Really, really similar to Esteban Ocon, isn't it? So let's just finish then. Here we go. F1 races pre-Red Bull. Let's just remind ourselves. Danny Ricciardo on 50, Pierre Gasly on 26, Vettel on 26, Verstappen on 23, Kvyat on 19, Albon on 12, and Liam Lawson just 11 Grand Prix races until he gets to the Red Bull team. Congratulations, Liam Lawson. But when we look at the stats, this is Yuki Tsunoda's stats. Remember that. 10-1 against Lawson, 16-9 against Ricciardo, 8-2 against Nick de Vries, a 34-12 with Yuki Tsunoda pretty much destroying every one of his teammates. And as you may well be aware, with Lawson obviously going to Red Bull, Yuki Tsunoda is quite unhappy. He's even said maybe pole position and podiums in every race, what he has to do to be noticed. He also came out and said Liam did a really good job when he drove in the team, but I think I did more than that. The proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating. We're going to have to wait and see until F1 2025. What do you think? Comment below. Let us know. Who do you think deserved that seat? If you made it to the end, you are an F1 World Champion in our eyes. Please give us a subscribe. Hit the notification button so you do not miss a video. And stay safe. We'll speak to you soon.